Hello, you're welcome to the Bureau's online training. Today I'll be showing you how to draft your basic bodies. So if you have any projects to do, the beginning point for any tutorial is your basic bodies. Now let's go to the work table. The first thing to do is to fold your pattern into two, and the center fold will be towards you. Then you get your vertical measurements. That's from your shoulder to bust. Shoulder to bust is 10, but because I'll be joining ½ inch at the shoulder point, I'll be adding that allowance to the vertical point. That's 10.5. My shoulder to under bust is 13. I added half. Shoulder to waist is 17.5. I added half. Then my shoulder to hip point is 23.5, and then I added half to it to make it 24. Then you mark your desired length for the dress. Now you come to the circumference measurements. You get the half of your shoulder, which is 14 divided by 2, that's 7. If your shoulder is 16, when you divide by 2, you mark 8. So this is the shoulder, 7 inches. And then I'm going to be getting the half of my armhole circumference. That will be my shoulder to chest line. Half of my armhole circumference is 8.5. That's 17 divided by 2. So on this chest line, you also mark your shoulder measurements. Half, that's 7. Then you connect with your ruler. This is so that you get a perfect armhole curve, like this. Now you mark the midpoint of your armhole, which is 4¼ Then you take your French curve, this curve, and you place it on the armhole area. You let it connect from the midpoint to this base here, and then you curve it in. Now this is for the back block armhole. If you are cutting the back block for any dress, this is the accurate armhole to use. But if you are cutting the front block of any dress, the armhole will be shaped in a bit. You just mark 3/4 inch at the midpoint of the armhole like this, and then you use your French curve to connect the shoulder point to that midpoint like this, and then you put your French curve here to connect this midpoint to the base of your armhole. I won't be cutting this pattern because I'll be using it for other projects, so just know this is for the front block armhole and this is for the back block armhole. Now my circumference measurement, for any measurement around the body, you have to divide by 4. But any measurement on one side of the body, you divide by 2. That is why your shoulder is assumed to be on one side of the body, so we divided by 2. But your bust, the taper will go round the body. Under bust, your taper goes round the body, so we are dividing by 4. My bust circumference is 38. 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. Let me put it this way, 9.5. So that's the measurement for your bust. The under bust is 32. Divided by 4 is 8. You mark 8. The waist circumference is 34. Divided by 4 is 8.5. You mark that here. My hip circumference is 39. 39 divided by 4 is 9¾ That's 9.75. You mark that here. Now, on the hemline, that's the length of the dress, you just put your hip circumference there. That's 9¾ You put it there. There's a way we shape it in if you want a pencil dress, but I'll first show you the basic. This is the basic. You use your hip circumference on your hemline. That's the length of the dress. So you connect the points together with your ruler. Just watch like this, and then note that your body does not have sharp points, so that's where you use your French curve again. You place it in between those sharp points, and then you're going to curve in to create a curve. And also on the hip area, you put your French curve and then you shape it in. So now if you want a shapy dress, like a pencil dress, come to the hemline and you mark 1 inch. But if you're someone that you don't like it too tight, you can mark if you want it really shapy, mark 1.5 inches into the dress. But if you don't want yours too tight, just mark 1 inch into the dress. So you'll be connecting that shaped point to the hip like this. You connect it to the hip like this, and then you use your French curve to also shape in the hip point, so there will be no pointed point. So this is the basic dress measurement. But now if you want to be adding seam allowances to it, I prefer to cut out my pattern like this. So on the fabric, I'll put my allowance as I want it. So thanks for watching. I'll now use it to cut my fabric now. I've used my pattern to cut this fabric. Now this is the scuba fabric. When you're working with scuba, you don't need any seam allowance on your circumference at all. You don't need it, except you don't want it fitted. But if you're working with scuba, standard is you don't add any seam allowance, and then you'll be sewing it with just ½ an inch. That's your accurate measurement is here, and you'll be sewing with ½ inch. Now you can see the armhole point. The front block has the armhole curved in, but the back block has a straight armhole. You can see the difference there. Now for my neckline, I measured, the length I used is 5 inches for the front block, and I used 3 inches for the back block. But the neck width is the same thing. My neck width is 7 inches, but I minused 1. You subtract 1 from 7 to make it 6. Then you divide 6 by 2 to give you 3 inches. Why should you subtract 1 from the neck width? Because by the time you sew your facing at the neckline, it will open up by ½ inch on both sides. So that's the original measurement. We go back into your neck width. So now let's sew. We've joined our shoulders with ½ an inch, and then the side blocks too. We join the sides with ½ an inch. Now we want to cut our sleeves. This is the 180-degree sleeve. You fold, this is the fabric, and then you're going to fold this way. Now remember, my armhole circumference is 17. The half of it is 8.5. So I'm going to come, this is a simple way to cut this. I'm going to come, to the width of the fabric to just check for 8.5. That's 8.5. And then I'll be adding ½ inch seam allowance. So on this point, I have 9 inches. So just connect this together. Connect this. And then the length of my sleeve is 9 inches plus 1 inch seam allowance, that's 10. So I'll be marking 10 round. It's a simple way to cut your sleeve. It's not a full sleeve. So you connect, and then I'm going to cut out this shape. That's the outcome of your sleeve. Cut it. That's the outcome. So now we want to sew the neckline round. What you do, we want to cut the fabric on bias so as to use it to turn the neckline. What do? You measure round your neckline. You take your tape rule, round it. You measure round. So I have 26 here. Now you open up the fabric. You open up your fabric, and then on a diagonal line, bias means to cut on a diagonal. That's if you don't have the ready-made strip. So you're going to mark 26 inches, and instead of cutting straight, you cut diagonally. on the diagonal, that's 26 inches. Then you can just add 1.5 inch seam allowance. So if there's any excess after sewing, you can trim off. The reason why we always cut on bias for the neckline is so that the fabric can stretch. Look at the way it's stretching round the curves. But if you don't cut on bias, if you cut on a straight line, it's not going to stretch. Look at it. It's not going to stretch at all. So we always cut on the diagonal line if you want to use it as a bias for any curved area. So I'll sew this on the fabric now. You take the sleeves now, and then you're going to top stitch. You fold in quarter and quarter, that's half, and you're going to top stitch round the circumference of the sleeve. And once you're done with that, you then fit the two together and you sew 1/2 inch on both sleeves. This is what you have. Then you make sure you iron. Now you take the side seam and put it against, that's the right side of the sleeve, against the right side of the dress, and you pin it down. You notch the center of the sleeve and you pin it to the shoulder of the body. You pin it down. So you'll be sewing 1/2 inch round the armhole. Just pin everything down and sew. And this is the outcome of our basic bodice with the scuba fabric. See how beautiful it fits. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe to my channel so that every time I post a video, you're going to get the notification. And let me get your thoughts in the comment section after you've tried this tutorial. Bye!